68 people indicted. The feds ain't playing. What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. So yesterday, there was a raid. The feds moved on a white group in the San Fernando Valley, which is part of Los Angeles County. And I gotta admit, it was surprising to me. It's kind of rare when you see whites get indicted like this, if it's not like a 1% group or something like that, or one of the big four, right? However, recently the feds targeted the white legends in California, as well as across the the federal system, the state system. And normally what the feds do is they cast a wide net. And they cast a wide net because they know there will be some weak links in that net if they cast it wide enough. And this is probably the result of that wide net that they cast. There was some people that probably they hemmed up, they took in, they shook them up and told them they were going to hit them with a whole bunch of years that they weren't willing to do. And they gave up what they knew. And, when you have one dude here doing that and one dude there doing that, or maybe it's just one dude that knew a lot of stuff, who knows, man? It leads to this kind of stuff. Now, here's what's interesting to me. And this is the sensationalism of prosecutors as well as the local media. And I wrote it down. I usually never take notes, but I want to be clear on this. So these 68 indictments, these 68 people that are being indicted, the feds, the agent, whoever it was, did a press conference, right? And this is a part of a statement. This stuck out to me. As soon as I heard it, it stuck out to me. I'm sure there's probably other people that when they heard it, hopefully it stuck out to them. But let me read it. He said, this group has as its mission to plan attacks against racial, ethnic, religious minorities. As its mission. That means that's the main goal, right? The main goal. The mission is the main goal. Normally, when you hear something about something's mission, a business's mission statement, anytime you hear mission, again, this group has as its mission to plan attacks against racial, ethnic, religious minorities. Now, that sounds to me like tainting the jury pool. That's just what it sounds like to me. And so when they say that this group has as its mission to plan attacks against racial, ethnic, and religious minorities, later down the line, it says these are the things that they have evidence of. Commercial drug trafficking. They found 97 pounds of fentanyl. They had illegal firearms. They were doing identity theft. They had possession of fraudulent COVID-19 relief checks. They were defrauding Medicare. They had created front companies in order to get their people off of parole and probation, right? Where's an attack against a religious? Let me get it right. Where is there evidence of an attack against racial, ethnic, religious minorities? This is their list that they put out there. Again, commercial drug trafficking. They had fentanyl. They had guns, identity theft, fraudulent stuff, defrauding Medicare. If their mission is to plan attacks against minorities, why isn't it on the list? It's not on the list because it's not true. And I know people are going to say, oh, Dubs is a Southerner. He's from down south. No, that has nothing to do with nothing. This is keeping it real. Look, I want to do more of these kind of things. And I don't care which group it is. When I see something and I hear something, I want to react to it, right? I know from when I was picked up for my murder, there was, I remember La Opinion said it was a drive-by. None of us were in a fucking car. You know, but it's more sensational. Back then, oh, it's a drive-by, right? In the 90s, it's a drive-by. It wasn't a drive-by. I learned firsthand. You know, I was under the belief prior to my arrest for murder. I was under the belief that you had the National Enquirer and like the Sun, and that was all trash, but that mainstream media, like all the newspapers that were legit, they did their homework. And then I got arrested and I was like, hold up. They are just trying to sell their paper. The feds in this case are trying to plant a seed in people's minds. Look at them dudes. If they were defrauding, then charge them with that and say that. If they were slinging guns, then say that. But this whole they're after minorities, and look, Holmes, I have met skinheads on the streets, the Santa Barbara Skins, right? Santa Barbara Boot Boys, right? I have never had a racial incident with the skinhead. And I remember in the 80s when the skins were kind of like really doing their thing. I don't remember them ever, and at least where I was at, I don't ever remember them going after people based off of race. In my experience, they were just kind of like tired of being bullied, and they had formed their thing, and they were proud of what they were. I can't knock that. I don't like this whole racist thing of any group. Any group. Raza thinking they're better than everyone. You know, like blacks thinking they're whites, thinking, hey, Holmes, we all struggle in the same spot once we get incarcerated. A lot of us are struggling in the same neighborhoods. And when we do that racial bullshit, it keeps us trapped in that cage. So me, you know, I heard this and I was like, oh, wow, they actually went after the whites. And it not being one of your normal organized crime factions that we are all aware of. You know, one of the big four, or, you know, something along those lines, an MC. This is a group in the San Fernando Valley, and they're actually being hit like they are an organized crime faction. And this should scare people. It honestly should. You know, in California, you really don't ever see the RICO or anything like that used against black groups because they call them disorganized crime, right? But if a white group can be targeted and hit like this, they can hit anybody. I'm not in the streets, but there are a lot of people that are. And things like this can affect people that aren't really involved. You know, you could have people that have a drug habit. If the feds or the cops mark you as, nah, that's a person of interest, you're fucked. And we need to keep that in mind, man, because we all have loved ones that might be dabbling, might have a habit, might be on the outskirts of some serious stuff, and they can get snatched up in this umbrella. These guys are going to be done. A lot of them are going to be done. It's a Fed case. The feds don't move on you unless they feel they got you. And this is not like, you know, like a county case where, at least, you know what? I don't know. They said feds, so I'm going off of feds. You know, if it's a county case and all 68 said, fuck that, I'm taking it to the box. We're taking this to a jury trial. That would seriously affect LA County's ability to prosecute other cases. They would have to go out of their way to try to make more deals to not have to pay court fees and the lawyer, you know, the experts and all this stuff. But when you're dealing with the feds, they have unlimited resources. And some would say, well, LA County does too, because they can, they can request more. They can. But when people, this is a common knowledge thing amongst criminals. Counties are able to prosecute the big cases because so many of the small cases are not willing to go to trial. And they take the deal and they save the county money so that they can go after the big fish, the big dogs. And this is one of those big dog cases. And there's going to be a lot of collateral damage in this case. A friend of mine asked me to start doing live reaction to the YSL. I think that's what it's called, right? I don't know, man. If I said it wrong, I apologize. But the case that's going on, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know how that would be accepted, and I may, but I'm interested because I am a product of the system. I made horrible decisions. I chose to live a certain lifestyle. However, I did educate myself while I was incarcerated. And I think that maybe instead of it only being the media airing these cases and these trials, and you guys hearing just what the legal beagles are saying, maybe some of us ex-convicts, people that have been through the system, should be reacting to these videos and these trials and giving our point of view. Because I think it would open more people's eyes, man. I know this to most people, this is just a case, they got picked up. But I think we always should look at the bigger picture. I always do. I never look at what's in front of me. I look at what can this create? How can this be twisted and used? And I'm not even a criminal anymore, but I still look at things like that. Like, how could this be used against minorities? Because we all know that the majority of the time, it is minorities that are targeted. So that's why to me it was funny when this group has as its mission to plan attacks against racial, ethnic, religious minorities. The same could be said about the feds. I remember after the 9/11 attacks, the CDC went after the Muslims in the California Department of Corrections. They weren't on the streets. They weren't part of a cell. They weren't planning on doing anything in prison. And yet the CDC wanted to slam them all down and validate them and put them in the hole 23-1 because of their religion. The feds, the system, have a high incarceration rate of minorities. However, the minorities are at fault for the decisions they make to live in that type of lifestyle, to chase the easy money, the fast money. So it's a double-edged sword, man. But anyways, that's my video for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them, man. I'm out of here.